John, your work covers a whole range of media, in terms of sculptural work, installation, sound work, and of course photography. Can you talk about how photography meets some of your artistic aims?
Okay, well, the concepts that I've been working on towards a feral art and now towards a hyperferal art run right across all four. But photography has been used right from the beginning of my work, at first to document sculptures, both permanent ones and very ephemeral ones, which were installed just for as long as it took to take the photograph. Over time, I came to see that the work was the photograph. I was exhibiting the photographs, and the objects in the photographs were not being exhibited.
So you effectively moved from treating the photographs as documents to that was the final end result, or that was the actual thing that you were producing.
Yeah, and this is pretty clearly seen in the fact that early on I was using fast black and white film, quite grainy film, and I was taking documentary shots that looked like conceptual art documentary photography of the late 60s, early 70s. As I changed to colour, because a lot of my work is dependent on the colour of materials, and the world is three-dimensional and coloured, and as I worked out that a lot of those black and white so-called documents were very striking graphic events, but appalling recorders of the truth, and often very flat, not even three-dimensional, I changed to colour, I slowed the film down, I got much better technically, and I in fact started to take effectively advertising photographs for that installation. And I came to see that what I was doing was telling utterly seductive, seamless, beautiful lies. I'm advertising the concept of feral art because I've come to understand that working in the Southern Hemisphere, at first for me in Australia and now in New Zealand, I'm still heir to X thousand years of Western art practice. It occurred to me to think, what is it that I'm doing? When I do this, I just impose, without changing in any way, the canons of modernism. Exotic European modernism needs little bits of Paris or New York created for it, called a dealer gallery with white walls and all the correct rituals, and it's fine in there on the walls in frames, but if you let it out in the bush, it dies. So I started on a hypothetical journey, an ongoing hypothetical journey called Towards a Feral Art, and the idea was that I would identify those things in my practice which were hiccups on this journey, towards making art which would literally run wild and adapt. At first the camouflage was simply an outrageous way of signalling that you could put this art in a piece of bush and you could cover it with a substance which is supposed to camouflage. And yet, because it was such a blatant misuse, it's an exotic predator, is a very clear signal of a totally exotic intervention. It doesn't disappear into the bush at all on one level, because anybody looking at the image can see this very strange fake fur. It would be nice to make art which ran wild and came to terms with being exotic here in the Southern Hemisphere. My titles now have the general first part of the title, Towards a Hyperferal Art, Aotearoa, which is signalling, number one, the country in which the intervention is being made. The second bit of the title is often a reference to some bit of philosophy or a person who's important in philosophy or history of thinking, and then we come to the zero impact, because this is fake fur, nylon, waterproof, non-toxic, and I put the tent up for maybe 15 minutes and try not to trample down the bush. In fact, the intervention does not destroy that much bush, but at the same time is a reference to 150 years of colonial predation in that very bush, which has removed most of that bush, most of the large cowries, large numbers of species. The uncertainty principle says that every time you point a camera at something and attempt to understand it, what you finish up doing is recording your intervention. And by clearly signalling what my intervention is, I think that maybe you can see where the debate is. I don't think that you get to see the bush any more clearly, but I think you maybe get to see the interventionist nature of much installation art very clearly. Sometimes it's simply that all these acts are imbued with a vast amount of irony. These are very ironic pictures. Yeah.